Hello, and welcome to another gameplay episode of the Trinisphere, where Timmy, Johnny, and Spike battle over all things EDH. I am Shannon, the Johnny/narrator. I'll be narrating this gameplay again, kind of cutting it down, making it nice and short for you all, so you can get the gist of how it goes. Of course, we've been trying to do the remote play style during the pandemic, so our audio quality is just not good enough. Some people's phones, some people have dogs, babies, etc., etc. So you'll just be listening to me wax poetic about how my deck doesn't work. Today we'll be playing Juan the Timmy will be playing Phylath, World Sculptor. Hogg the Spike will be playing Yasharn, Implacable Earth. I'll be playing as the Johnny, Verazol the Split Current, and then our guest Jaime is also a bit of a Spike from our local CDH scene. We'll be playing Zareth San, the Trickster. So let's get into the gameplay right off the bat. So Juan will be playing first as Phylath, which is a pretty good position for Timmy's. Generally want to be able to play first and do a lot of ramping early on before anyone else gets going. So Juan is going to play a Forest, no turn one play. Good sign for us. Hogg is going to play a Cavern of Souls, naming elves, I guess, or something. And plays an Elvish Reclaimer, so a bit of a spell shaper of sorts. I'm going to be playing a Mosswort Bridge, hideawaying a card. Don't recall what that card was, so spoiler alert, probably wasn't relevant to this matchup. Jaime plays Good Old Island, strongest card of Magic, and then plays a Triton Shorestalker, 1 mana, 1/1 unblockable, so can expect this to be a unblockability style rogue deck. On Juan's turn 2, going to play a Sakura Tribe Elder, so a Rampant Growth on a stick. Pretty good for the turn 2 play for a Timmy. Wanting to ramp, and then fatty. Hogg and Juan have a hate-hate relationship, so Hogg is going to attack Juan for the lulz. So Juan, we're going to block with that Sakura Tribe Elder and sack it, taking no damage. It's about sending the message, as they would say. Hogg going to play a Selesnya Sanctuary to bounce that land to hand. Very unusual for Hogg. Hogg definitely hates bounce lands, comes out hard against them, so must be playing a land-centric deck, because really the only reason you want to play that is if you want to replay the same land multiple times. So I'm going to play a Throne of Makindi, a land I also hate greatly, especially after this matchup. And then I'm going to use that to play a Vine Gecko. This 2 mana 2/2 says my kicker spells cost 1 less, and also when I kick a spell, Vine Gecko gets a +1/+1 counter. Really good, because that's both of my sub-themes. Kickers, obviously, with Verazol, and then +1/+1 counters is my sub-theme. Jaime going to play a Felwar Stone, so rock 1 for spikes. Kind of a low rock count so far for spikes. You know, not wanting to get involved in the Hogg-Juan hate-hate relationship, Jaime's going to go ahead and attack me for 1, so I'm down to 39 here. We'll just let them do their thing. Juan's big turn 3 play is a 4 mana Sky Shroud Claim. So really strong turn 3 play, putting 2 force into play, untapped, and then using those to cast Explore, to draw a card, and potentially play another land. I don't think Juan is able to play a 7th land here, but is pretty comfortable going into turn 4 with 6 lands. Exactly where the Timmy wants to be, able to play fatties on turn 4, 5, and really establish dominance and flow of the game. So we're really going to be keeping an eye on Juan this matchup. Hogg's going to play a Sheltered Thicket, and then contemplate poking the bear again, but decides, you know what, maybe it's time to stop screwing around, because pretty soon the Timmy's going to be looking for people to kill. So I'm going to be playing a land here, and I think I'm talking about how the Vine Gecko does not discount Verazol, which is very unfortunate. Jaime, however, baits me into attacking them. It's like, hey, I hit you with Triton, are you going to hit me back? And I'm like, sure. And I'm like, what an idiot. So cast a Zillowport Duelist. This 1 mana 1/1 with Flash says when I ETB, target creature gets neg 2 and neg-0, and then its owner mills 2. Now, it doesn't block, so I don't have to like do some crazy crap to keep Vine Gecko alive. Man, I really got baited into that one. I end up losing an Emerald Medallion, by the way. It gets milled out. So I follow that up with a Reclaim the Wastes kicked. I do get it. It's a little bit cheaper because of Vine Gecko, and it pumps the Vine Gecko up. This is not a ramp spell. It only puts 2 basics into my hand. So I am still a little bit behind. Like, even Jaime playing Dimir has ramped, and Hogg has the ability to ramp with that crop rotation Elvish Reclaimer. So far as a green player, I'm the slowest of the bunch so far. Another way you can spot a spike is they're playing off-color fetches, because they want to talk to you all about them percentages, that deck thinning, which is like, just roll your eyes. Gonna use Mystic Rainforest here to go get a Underground Sea, and then play a Rhystic Study. So now we really gotta consider how the pod is addressing Rhystic Study. Are they paying for it? There's some people paying for it, or people ignoring it. So we really gotta keep an eye on what everyone else is doing and whether or not we want to trying to keep Jaime from drawing too many cards here. Jaime is gonna go ahead and poke Juan just before, while they still can. Juan getting that turn 4 Phylath World Sculptor coming down, putting I think it's gonna be 6 tokens. Could have played a land and then paid 1 for Rhystic, but decided to keep that land for a post Phylath play to give 4 +1/+1 counters to one of those creatures. So far Rhystic Study has drawn 1 of 1. Hogg at Juan's end step is going to use the Elvish Reclaimer as a crop rotation to sacrifice Sheltered Thicket and put Ancient Tomb into play. So now effectively has ramped himself, starting turn 4 with 4 mana available, and then playing a 5th. So able to have 5 mana on turn 4. I am literally the only one behind at this point. So here we go. Gonna tap 5 for a 4 mana spell, paying 1 to this Rhystic Study. This Yasharn is gonna come down, paying for 1. So Rhystic Study is 1 for 2 so far. Yasharn is going to go ahead and get 2 basics into Hogg's hand, which Hogg will end up discarding at end step anyways. But Yasharn does prevent us from sacking stuff for sacking or paying life for spells or abilities. Not super relevant, but could be against the Dimir player. On my turn, I am going to hilariously not pay the 1 and cast a Verazol Split Current here. So the Rhystic Study is 2 for 3 on drawing, which is pretty good, and the bad sign for our pod that we may just be feeding Jaime's cards. At which point you can do, if your pod does not pay for Rhystic Study, what you want to do is instead start pivoting to attack other resources, mainly the mana production. Like if you have the ability to shatter the Fellwar Stone at this point, Jaime can draw a lot of cards, but Jaime can't play all those cards. So you can try and pivot around a table who doesn't play around Rhystic Study that well. Jaime's going to play a Rankle Master of Pranks, really bad for Hogg and I. So, of course, Juan, who's in the dominant position, having ramped and is now putting out waves of bodies with potential to deal a lot of damage, has plenty of creatures to sack to Rankle. The most relevant ability of Rankle is when I hit a player, each player must sacrifice a creature. So Juan can sacrifice 0/1s all day, whereas Hogg and I have to sacrifice pretty relevant creatures. So this is really bad for Hogg and I. And of course, Jaime does have some foddery 1/1 creatures that they're willing to sack easily here. Jaime's going to run down the list of all 3 of Rankle's abilities, choosing to do all of them. So we all discard a card, then we lose 1, draw 1, then we sack a creature. Hogg's going to sack Yasharn, and I'm going to sack Vine Gecko. And then Jaime's going to pass to Juan here after sacrificing that Duelist that they baited me so easily with earlier in the game. So on to Juan's turn. For 4 mana, Juan is going to be throwing down paying 1 for a Nissa's Pilgrimage. So that means Rhystic Study is 2 for 4. 1, making up for the earlier giving that 1 draw. So still undetermined how this table is dealing with this Rhystic Study. However, is putting a +1/+1 counter on a creature and then putting a 2 force in the hand, playing that second force, putting a second set of 4 +1/+1 counters. Total of 8 +1/+1 counters added to the board here. So Phylath really good at just, it's easily to compare that to Avenger of Zendikar, which goes a little bit wider. But I think I'm more scared of 4/5s and 8/9s than I am a bunch of 1/2s. So coming out here, Juan is going to spread out the damage. A little bit of it goes to Juan, and a lot of it goes to Jaime. None of it comes at me. So, not entirely sure Timmy's not entirely sure who they want to kill yet, so you should play around with that idea whenever playing against a Timmy. Don't draw the threat. They're very reactive to threats. So Hogg's going to play a Mentor of the Meek. So you kind of get an idea, and there you go, Collector Oof. You get an idea, especially because it also discarded a Phyrexian Revoker. This is a Hatebears build. So Collector Oof coming down, and Collector Oof's really shocked at the low power level of this battle. Really only affecting a Fellwar Stone. Really used to seeing a bunch of spikes playing a bunch of rocks. So kind of hilarious how the Oof is almost irrelevant. But does allow Hogg to draw a card. I'm going to be playing an Untamed Kavu, not paying the 1. And then I'm going to kick that because I'm behind on mana. I can't really afford to pay 1 anymore. So the cool thing about this Verazol is that you can kick creature, or you can copy kicked creature spells, and not just instant sorceries. And what it does is it makes a copy that's also kicked. So I get 2 5/5 Vigilant Tramplers for 5 mana here. Really trying to actually just put up kind of like what resembles a defense, so that as the Timmy starts looking around the board for people to kill, I look less enticing. Jaime is going to land, draw, go, and at the end step, Juan is going to attempt a Harrow, to which Jaime responds with a Pact of Negation, so Jaime is really kind of saying, hey, I have a reactive hand here, and I want to help slow Juan's roll, so I'm going to help the table out by reducing, this is a potential to put 8 +1/+1 counters out if this Harrow resolves. So Jaime negates that, Pact of Negation. On Juan's main phase, plays a land, getting 4 counters, and then attempts a Ridge Scale Tusker. This 5 mana 5/5 puts a +1/+ counter on each other creature. Once again, Jaime is going to cast a counter spell, countering Ridge Scale Tusker. So really just trying to put a hamper on Juan's growth, doing the work. So here's the thing though. So when you double counter a Timmy, you can damn well sure that they're going to be coming at you for the rest of the game. So here we go. Combat. What do you know? Everything at Jaime. So Jaime really is like taking the one for the pod here. Really slowed Juan's growth, and then also now has to tank the bulk of Juan's damage here. But Jaime's in a really tough spot. So having used Pact of Negation, we do know that Jaime must spend 5 of their mana next turn to not lose the game. Now doing double block here is really just a sign that Jaime's hoping the rest of the board will appreciate the work they did and come back here with a board wipe of some kind and save Jaime's life at this point, because Jaime has to tap out next turn and for the Pact of Negation, and can't really play an effective blocking, board of blockers, which means Juan is able to kill Jaime very easily next turn. So let's see if the rest of the pod does appreciate the tank that we need, not deserve. So Hogg is going to be playing that Mangara as a draw engine and then passing. Now, Hogg does not pay for Rhystic Study, so either we're trying to help Jaime draw something relevant, or we're assuming Jaime is dead and the cards that they draw are irrelevant. I'm going to play a Strip Mine here, and for cheeky lulz, I'm going to swing a 5/3 or a 5/5 Vigilant at Juan and a 5/5 Vigilant at Hogg. Both are going to do no blocks. Obviously, Hogg doesn't want to lose any of those really good relevant creatures, and Juan just has a 0/1 token right now. So I'm going to follow that up with a Garruk's Uprising without paying the 1. Just, trying to help Jaime out. Wink, wink. So this is going to draw me a card. I do have a bunch of 5/5s. I really like that draw engine. I'm also going to follow up that with a Twinning Staff, not paying the 1. I do like Twinning Staff. However, I do think it's not that great in this build. It is a win more card. It requires other pieces. Otherwise, it does nothing. So it requires Verazol to be in play, which is probably usually going to be the case. But I don't think I like it in this build that much. Pretty predictably, Jaime in upkeep is going to pay 5 for that Pact of Negation to not lose the game, and then play a Rogue's Passage and pass. So really, I think Jaime was really hoping the rest of the table would appreciate the work they did on stopping Juan's roll, but we all said, good luck. So the blood's in the water, Jaime's wide open, and Timmy's never forget getting double counterspelled, so we all expect Jaime to bite the dust here. Pollen Bright Druid coming down, 2 mana 1/1, optionally to put a +1/+ counter on something or proliferate. Juan's going to choose the second, obviously, to just roll up that board from 4/5s to 5/6s. But wait, there's more. Here comes Ye Old Hell Rider, the 4/4/3/3 hasters. It's basically like a raid bombardment. Whenever a creature attacks, the defender immediately takes 1 damage per attacker before even going to block. So a good way to get some damage through regardless of the size or block situation. Going to attacks, Juan is going to declare a lethal attack on Jaime. Jaime looks at Felwar Stone plus Rogue's Passage and says, oof. Some more attacks coming out, and I do believe that those are going to be headed my way. So there is 2 5/6s coming my way. And I'm going to double block, I believe, one of them, just to bring that one out, take that one out of the equation, and lose one of my my Untamed Kavu. So Jaime's out of the game here, and I take 8. Second main, Juan is going to cast Fierce Empath, and he's going to go get a End-Raze Forerunners. Ye old Timmy finisher. No surprise there. So End-Raze Forerunners to hand the budget Craterhoof Behemoth. Passing to Hogg. Now it's just Spike and Johnny versus Timmy, as Timmy's like it. So Hogg's going to deploy a Gaia's Cradle followed by an Ashaya Soul of the Wild. So turning all of his creatures into mana dorks. Big mana plays here. Going to tap that Gaia's Cradle for 5. So 5 mana floating is going to cast a Great Henge. Do love that card. So that's going to be a draw engine, as well as a little bit of life gain, a little bit of mana, you know, the whole works. Now still has some mana floating over because that really only costs 2 because Ashaya is so big. So it has like I think 3 mana floating. Gonna tap some creatures for extra mana and then tap some lands, tapping out here. Adding 7 to the pool. Here comes the biggins. Elish Norn Grand Cenobite, 7 mana 4/7. Of course, his +2 is his board and nigs to opposing boards. This kills my Verazol. Really good at slowing Juan down, but I'm really liking my odds right now against Juan in a 1v1. So and I don't like them against Hogg, so I'm gonna do some dirty ass politicking right here. I'm gonna use my Strip Mine to destroy Elish Norn under the precipice that I'm opening the gates for Juan to do a lethal attack on Chris. So Chris, not so happy to hear that he's getting ganged up on for what he would perceive as no reason whatsoever, but I don't think I can beat Hogg in a 1v1 with the Staxy builds and my slow linear growth, but I do have plenty of things in my hand that work well against Juan, so I'm positioning myself for an endgame 1v1 against Juan. I'm going to follow that up with Verazol Recast. I have to do that because Verazol died to Elish Norn. Now Elish Norn's off the board, so Verazol is a 4/4, and I can draw off of Garruk's Uprising. And then finally I'm going to do a Preordain here, just to set up what I presume to be the final fight. I really am hoping that Juan will appreciate the death of Elish Norn and follow through with... I mean, if you look at the board states, though, it does look like Hogg with the Gaia's Cradle, the Great Henge, as well as multiple draw engines on board, and a big beater is the threat right now. It's passing to Juan. Juan's looking at board, counts mana, which is never a good sign. When Timmy's count, like, they're 9 to 10 mana, like, it's not enough. You're like, geez, man, come on. Here comes the End-Raze Forerunners. No shocker there. That's going to +2/+2 Vigilance Trample the board, making most of those tokens 8/9s with Vigilance Trample. They were rolled up, of course, because of the Pollen Right Druid. Or there's 7/8s. So a lot of that, or all of that's going to end up going to Hogg. So Juan, you know, as I had hoped, Juan is going to follow through with the attack and completely obliterate Hogg here. So with the Hellrider triggers, before even going to blocks, Hogg's going to be taking 7, then has to deal with a bunch of 7/8 Vigilant Tramplers, a 7/7 Vigilant Trampling Boar, 7/7 Vigilant Trampling Commander, and then a 5/5 Vigilant Trampling Hellrider. Hogg is going to double block or multiple block kill the End-Raze Forerunners, and then is going to die. So I'm down to the 1v1 that I had hoped for. I'm still far behind. I think I might have missed a land drop here and haven't ramped at all, so I'm going to take a breather here. I do have ways to survive the next attack, so I'm going to take a moment here to copy this Grow from the Ashes to get 6 basics. So I'm able to copy that with Verazol and then copy it again by Twinning Staff. So I can finally catch up with the mana base, because playing kick spells, they're so expensive, man. So, like, I need to be able to play 2 of them a turn, most likely. So I need, you know, upwards of 10 plus mana to do that. So this will establish me for the, what I perceive to be the final round here. Juan is going to play a land, putting 4 counters on a one of those big old beaters. So that makes them into 9/10s, I believe. And then Juan's going to follow that up with a Rampant Growth. So yet another set of 4 counters being placed on a creature. Really just planning on, like, you know, running the numbers. I block the 2 biggest, and I still just take heaps and heaps of damage, as well as Hellrider triggers. And I lose all my blockers, so... Because I have a, you know, a 5/5, having to do a little bit of pre-combat flexing. When he does go to combat, I'm going to cast a Rushing River. This is bounce target non-land permanent. Sack a land to bounce 2 non-land permanents instead. Kicker. And I'm going to use Verazol to copy that, and then the Twinning Staff to copy it again. So I can bounce 6 non-land permanents. I'm going to bounce everything but the Phylath. Now, because I did that during main phase transitioning to combat, Juan is able to replay Hellrider and then go to combat again. Which is fine. This is actually part of my master plan. So Hellrider's going to come down again, and Phylath is going to go to combat and swing. So I take 1 immediately from the Hellrider trigger, and then I'm going to choose to no blocks, keep my 5/5 around. So I'm going to take a total of 6 here. So my final endgame plan is to use a kicked Rites of Replication on that Hellrider. So I can effectively kick it, copy it, and copy it again. I'll get 15 Hellriders, all with haste. So when they attack, that's just going to completely delete Juan. However, I think I might have done a little bit of a play mistake, which is going to slow my roll down a little bit here. I used Verazol to kick the Rites, or the Growing Rites, because I think I needed the mana, because, you know, kicking a Rites is a 9 mana play, so I used that a little early, and then I had to sack it to the Rushing River, which is more important. So now I have to take a turn to recast Verazol, so I'm slowed down a little bit. So I just need to survive 1 more turn now that Verazol's back in play and can copy the kicked Rites of Replication. So I'm going to build a little bit of a blocking army here. I'm going to cast a Sphinx of Lost Truths, 3/5 flyer. You loot 3 when it comes into play, but if it's kicked, you just draw 3. So I'm going to kick it, copy it, and copy it again. So I get 3 3/5 flyers and draw 9 cards. And discard down a hand size. I just got to survive this turn, and then I'm good to go. I'm good to go. I'm good to Rites of... Oh, what do you know? What do you know? Timmy top decks of the day. Rude Awakening off the top. So this is going to turn all of Juan's creatures into, or all lands into 2/2s. So upon declaring attacks, I take 14 damage. There's 10 2/2 lands, a Hellrider, or 12 2/2 lands, a Hellrider, and a Commander. So I take 12, and then I can't effectively block all of the 2/2s. I end up taking lethal here. So yeah, them's the breaks, you know. Like it goes with Timmy's. They have good top decks. They have bombs. They just play big, fat, like, dangerous spells. So, you know. So that was a little turn late. It might have been a misplay on me to have kicked that Grow from the Ashes, but I went from pretty sure I was going to win that to dead in, like, a split second. So that's game 1. We're going to be playing a game 2. Jaime didn't really had to do a lot of counterspell control. Like, didn't get a good opportunity to flex their deck. So we're going to be playing game 2 here. Same commanders, different order, and we'll see how that goes. So... thanks for joining me for Game 1. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon if you want to get notifications when the next gameplay 2, as well as, you know, when Timmy, Johnny, and Spike deck techs come out, you can check them out. If you're Spike, you can see more of Hogg's Hatebears. If you're more of a Johnny, you can see my weird builds that are intentionally building a deck wrong. And then Juan's good stuff. I want to beat people to death with big, cool cards. Alright, guys, until next time, this is Shannon the Johnny. Great minds brew alike. See ya.